Hi, this is Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services and welcome to my Friday Business Finance Bulletin, my weekly roundup of news, tips, ideas and strategies on raising finance and dealing with banks. So what are we going to be looking at this week? Well, we're going to look at bank lending, we're going to be looking at the asset finance industry to see how they're performing. I'm going to take a look at a new crowdfunding platform just recently launched. And in my tip of the week, we're going to be thinking about one key question that banks ask of themselves when they are reviewing your borrowing request. So let's move on with bank lending figures. Now, every month the Bank of England releases figures about the total amount of money currently outstanding by UK banks to UK businesses. And the figures for the end of June have just come out, and there's another little bit of a tale of woe. It shows that the figures of total amount of money lent out, sitting out there in the economy, has actually shrunk by about £3.4 billion in that month. So it just means that the amount of new money lent has been overtaken by money being paid back. So banks just aren't lending enough to cover the repayments. Now that shrinkage is equivalent to about 3.8% when compared to the same period in June 2013. But for small businesses, it's not as bad news, because when you strip the small businesses out of that figure, it shows that for the month of June, the amount of money outstanding to small businesses actually grew by about £200 million. So in other words, more money was lent out than was paid back. But on a 12-month basis, it shows that the figure still shrank by about 2.8%. Better than the overall business figure of a shrinkage of 3.8, so not as bad. So what's going on here? Well, obviously say the amount outstanding is shrinking and shrinking. And then the question we've got to ask ourselves, is it lack of appetite on behalf of the banks about lending money, or is it lack of appetite for business owners wanting to borrow? Or is it a combination of both? Well, I think it's a little bit of both. But there's lots of interesting figures there. And if you go to the Business Loan Services website and check out our blog, I've written a bit more detailed look at those figures if you really want to understand what's going on. Now, alternative source of finance we talked about before is asset finance. So as well as the Bank of England coming out with performance figures on what banks are doing, the Asset-Based Finance Association have also just come out with figures of what their members are doing. Now, asset-based finance covers invoice financing and asset finance. So invoice, where you're releasing cash against invoices yet to be paid to you, and asset finance, where you're going out and buying fixtures and fittings, vehicles, etc. Now, it shows that for the second quarter of 2014, £8.9 billion was lent out by the asset finance industry. Now, that's an increase of 7% on the previous quarter, and overall a 10% increase year on year compared to June 2013. Now, compare that 10% increase with a 3.8% fall from banks, and that's a near 14% swing. So a lot of activity going on in that sector. So if you want to know more about how you can release cash against your invoices, or what assets you can asset finance instead of going to a bank for a bank loan, then just get in touch with us, info@businessloanservices.co.uk, and we can have a chat on that. Yet another new crowdfunder just been launched this week called CrowdProperty.com. As the name suggests, again, another niche-focused crowd lender looking at the property side. So as with all the models, they're looking at matching private investors with business owners who are looking to raise money to either raise development finance or looking to purchase or refinance a buy-to-let property. Now, the maximum period of loans go up to 3 years for buy-to-let, less for the development side. So it's really more of a short-term funding. If you're on the investment side and you're looking to put money in, minimum £500, and the interest rate is fixed depending on whether it's a development loan, where the interest will be anywhere between 9 and 11%, and between 5 and 6% for a buy-to-let property. So if you're interested in either being an investor or a borrower and you're in the property game, just have a look at that site, crowdproperty.com, and see if you can find a bit more information on whether it ticks your boxes. So what's my tip for this week? Well, in this clip from a seminar that I recently did, I'm going to ask about the question that banks ask of themselves when they are reviewing your borrowing request. And if you know what this question is going to be, then you can be better armed and get the information ready in order to answer this question for them. So let's go to that clip now. The second step then is something that banks may not tell you that they're looking at, but they are.
So what they're looking for here are things that can perhaps upset your business in some way. These are things that are going to create obstacles in your way. Because what the bank is looking for here, it's asking a key question when it's looking at a business proposal. What they're looking for is the answer to this question. What can happen to this business that could lead to me not being paid? So what we're looking at here really are the risks within your business. Because the banks are in the business of managing risks. And do you know what? You should be as well. You should be in the business of managing your risks. There are a whole host of risks that each and every one of you are facing in your business. And this is what the bank is looking for. The banks are looking for the banana skins that are going to be tripping you up. The things, the obstacles that are going to prevent you from repaying your loan. So let's be clever. Let's be clever. Let's see if we can head the bank off at the pass and get there first. By identifying those risks and thinking about those risks before the bank does.
So, what are the risks that you face in your business? If you can think about them before you go and see the bank, then you're going to be in a much better position to answer the question immediately instead of having to go off and gather more information. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as ever, if you did enjoy it, please share it amongst your colleagues, give it a like on social media. So that's it for this week. I look forward to being with you again next Friday with more news, tips and ideas on raising finance and dealing with banks. Have a great and profitable forthcoming week, and see you next week. Bye bye now.